Media reports say U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi will visit Taiwan in August. We talk with White House correspondent Jessica Stone about what President Joe Biden's recent remarks mean about the potential trip.
Then we give you a look at the 38th Han Kuang exercise, Taiwan's joint military war games that simulate how Taiwan would defend against an attack from China.
And Taiwan Railway's new Grupa lunchboxes are a hit. We tell you how people are supporting Taiwan by lining up for delicious fish.
Finally, in Hashtag Taiwan, I tell you about a newly renovated baseball stadium that isn't exactly a home run. This is Taiwan Insider.
Welcome to the show. It's good to be back. Now, a lot of people are wondering if U.S. Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi will visit Taiwan next month. Well, this is what she had to say about her visit.
I don't ever discuss my travel plans. It's a security issue. You never even hear me say if I'm going to London, because it is a security issue. And so I won't be discussing that now.
There wasn't much clarity on the part of Pelosi herself, but this week, U.S. President Joe Biden also revealed that there's some real opposition in the U.S. government about her visiting Taiwan at this time.
Well, I think that the military thinks it's not a good idea right now, but I don't know what the status of it is.
To find out more about the situation in Washington, D.C., I spoke with White House correspondent Jessica Stone. I asked her if she thinks Biden's remarks mean that Pelosi may cancel her trip.
Well, I want to point out that we don't know when she's going. She hasn't even confirmed that she is going, but this is certainly an issue that is under consideration by Nancy Pelosi's staff. And former Defense Secretary Mark Esper has pointed out, look, the Congress is independent of the military. The military can't tell Congress what to do. They need to have the freedom to make these trips. It's important for them to see up close and personal the impact of their decisions, to be able to make better decisions as lawmakers. But certainly Beijing worries that Pelosi's visit could encourage more visits by Congress. There is a tension because Washington does not want to give Beijing any reason to view this as an escalation.
We see that Beijing is also reacting very strongly. They said that they will take forceful measures if Pelosi does visit. So what kind of measures do you think that they're thinking of?
Members of Congress arrive in Taiwan by military plane, and that alone could be viewed as a provocation by Beijing. Hu Xijin, who's the influential Chinese commentator at the Global Times, he actually suggested on Twitter that Beijing's response could be to have its Air Force accompany that flight or to enforce a no-fly zone to try and block the trip. So those are some possibilities that have been floated out there. But it's not really clear what the U.S. military believes or what the White House is concerned about in terms of when they hear that.
What do you think about Pelosi herself, what she wants to do?
She has a history of taking a stand on human rights. She went to Tiananmen Square just 2 years after the massacre there. And she also has some legislation she wants to see passed in Congress, which has a lot to do with making the U.S. more competitive against China in technology and semiconductor production. And again, she has a break from the activity in Washington. So this is a natural next opening, a next window from the April trip that was canceled because she had COVID.
Recently also, there's been RIMPAC, and Taiwan wasn't invited despite a provision in the National Defense Authorization Act. So what do you think that's saying about the U.S. military's attitude towards Taiwan and China?
Well, I think it's important, Natalie, to remember that Taiwan has not been invited before, and so it would be unprecedented for it to be invited. Of course, hopes were raised when the NDAA was signed by U.S. President Joe Biden, in which Congress did ask the Pentagon to invite Taiwan. And I think what you're seeing there is an internal debate. You're seeing Congress become much more aware of what needs to happen in Taiwan, and there really is bipartisan support for Taiwan in these matters because there's an affinity for any democracy in the region. So you are seeing Congress put more pressure on the Pentagon and the White House to show more blatant and open public support for Taiwan, but they're not always on the same page, clearly. There are hawks and there are doves, and the Pentagon is in a precarious position because they do They need to do what the president asked them to do with respect to Taiwan, because he's the civilian leader of the U.S. military. At the same time, I just want to point out there is a flurry of engagement throughout the region, and much of RIMPAC that I covered last week, on the sidelines, there could well have been many exercises going on with the Americans just working out contingencies and additional experimentation that could have an impact on how they respond to a Taiwan contingency.
What I find interesting, actually, is that there seems to be a tension between Congress, the president, and the Pentagon in the situation with Taiwan. So who's really in charge? Who has the final say? The president.
The president.
Okay.
Yeah.
And for now, he seems to be deferring to the military when he speaks. So do you think that that means that whatever the military wants, then he'll go with that?
It's not clear that he's made a decision on anything in particular. You have to keep in mind, too, he has not had an in-person meeting with Xi Jinping at this point. And both sides are looking to have a meeting on the sidelines of the G20 or the APEC conference in the region in November. And that's going to come right around the time when the People's Party Congress is having their meetings and when we expect Xi Jinping to receive a third term. So there's just a lot of tension and a lot on the line for both countries. But Washington very clearly wants to make that in-person meeting happen. And so there's a delicate dance going on for sure.
Next up, Leslie Liao tells us about military exercises in Taiwan that are going on this week.
The Han Kuang exercise is a joint military drill that simulates how Taiwan would fend off an attack from China. The 38th Han Kuang exercise kicked off on Monday and will go on continuously for 5 days and 4 nights. Itamara Waxman has this report on how Taiwan's Navy and Coast Guard work together to fend off would-be enemy forces.
Anti-aircraft missiles are shot from a Chunggong-class frigate, simulating defending against an enemy on the offensive. This public display is meant to show the defensive capabilities of Taiwan's Coast Guard. Captain Xu Wenlong says the Coast Guard constantly communicates with the Navy, and the two work together to intercept ships in Taiwanese waters. He says if a Chinese vessel is identified, the two organizations would work together to control the situation. During this year's Han Kuang exercise, the largest military exercise of the year, Taiwan's military is simulating a Chinese invasion of Taiwan's eastern waters. As President Tsai Ing-wen looked on, 20 warships practiced quickly leaving their harbor to meet their adversary. Apart from testing its prowess in defending against aircrafts and warships, Taiwan's military is also trying its capabilities to repel submarines. Once maritime surveillance aircraft find the submarine, S-70C helicopters are dispatched to confront the enemy. Warships also participate by launching missiles and depth charges. Once the enemy submarine comes up, fighter jets are sent on the attack. Military officials emphasize the Han Kuang exercise is meant to help Taiwan's armed forces become familiar with using live weapons. They say with every missed target comes another opportunity to strengthen Taiwan's defenses.
China is putting pressure on Taiwan, and not just militarily. Last month, Beijing banned imports of certain fish from Taiwan in a calculated hit on the economy. But local officials have found new markets to make up for the loss.
After China banned imports of Taiwanese grouper fish last month, officials and business persons searched for new ways to support producers. These new Taiwan Railways bento boxes are part of the solution, and up to this point, they've been a hit. 2 women waiting to purchase the grouper meal sets say they've come from far away and have been waiting since the early morning to get some delectable white fish. The new bento boxes are a win-win. Not only do customers get to support Taiwanese fish farmers, but they're also eating a delicious and nutritious meal. Nutritionist Wang Zhili says grouper is rich in high-quality protein, heart-healthy omega-3s, and is great for blood flow. Pingdong County Magistrate Pan Meng-an says the low price of 120 NT dollars is meant to encourage people to buy the meals, but he says though the price might be low, the quality is very high. While Taiwan Railways planned on selling the meals only until the end of the month, they've been so popular that the company has had to reconsider. With demand so high, they want to give everyone the chance to taste this Taiwanese delicacy.
From fishy meals to fishy deals, Leslie Liao dives into a controversial renovation of a Taiwanese baseball stadium in #Taiwan.
Baseball is Taiwan's national sport. In fact, Taiwan's pretty good at baseball. Taiwan has 17 Little League World Series titles. Taiwan has also had players compete in Major League Baseball, many of whom have impressive careers. You have Chen Ming-wang, who tied for most wins as a pitcher in the 2006 season. Then there's Hong Chi-kuo, who finished the 2010 season as one of the best reliever pitchers in the league. Taiwan also has its own professional baseball league, the CPBL. The league currently has 5 teams: the Fubon Guardians, the CTBC Brothers, the Uni-President Lions, the Rakuten Monkeys, and the Weitren Dragons. There's a 6th team on the way, the TSG Hawks. Today, I want to talk about the Weitren Dragons, the most recent team to join the CPBL's primary league. More specifically, I want to talk about their new stadium in Hsinchu City. Hsinchu Stadium originally opened on November 27th, 1976. In 2019, the stadium started renovations to give the Weitren Dragons a new home stadium. Renovations took 3 years and 1.2 billion new Taiwan dollars, or about 40 million US dollars. Last Friday, the stadium reopened to much fanfare. President Tsai Ing-wen showed up to inaugurate the new stadium, and then it quickly shut down after 2 games. What went wrong? How about everything? 2 players got hurt. One hurt his shoulder while making a diving catch, and the other jammed his thumb on the ball after it bounced erratically on the field. And you might be thinking, big deal, sports injuries happen. But Hsinchu Stadium's field may have been a primary factor in causing those injuries. For one, the grass in the outfield is too hard and there's gravel out there too. Trying to make a diving catch in those conditions is just asking for trouble. Then the infield's dirt consistency is irregular, which made it hard for the infielder who got hurt to anticipate the ball's trajectory, thus leading to the injury. The stadium's problems are documented in this meticulous Facebook thread posted by a page called Catch Them All. The thread shows the poor condition of the playing field, but the playing field isn't the only place where there are problems. There are many design flaws here. There's torn flooring, inconsistent stair height, exposed wiring, rusted stairs, nails poking out of walls. Then there's the seating, which is a combination of unsafe and pointless. You have seats that have completely obstructed views of the game, seats that can look straight into the bathrooms, and you also have seats that are directly under metal scaffolding where cameras are mounted. Finally, here's the most baffling thing: a bathroom door installed backwards. The bathroom door lock is on the outside, which means someone installed the door backwards, looked at it, and said, yeah, this seems right. At that point, that isn't poor design. That's a bad job. And people are mad, as they should be, because this stadium took 3 years and 1.2 billion new Taiwan dollars to renovate. Not build, renovate. And let's circle back to the grand stairway that was completely rusted through. That is more rust than stairway. The most baffling thing about this to me is that someone looked at all of these mistakes and said, oh yeah, this is what a good baseball stadium looks like. And like I said, the president showed up to inaugurate the baseball stadium. So they not only said, this is a good baseball stadium, they said, this is a stadium good enough for the president. And before we go back to the studio for our final question of the day, here's a look at some of the other stories that are on our radar.
More than 70 paratroopers leapt out of planes above southern Taiwan on Wednesday on the 3rd day of the country's Han Kuang military exercise. That training event aimed to practice carrying troops behind the lines of an attacking enemy. The Han Kuang exercise will continue until Friday for a total of 5 days. Coinciding with the exercise is the annual Wan'an air raid drill held from Monday to Thursday in different parts of Taiwan. During the half-hour drill, pedestrians and vehicles are ordered off the streets. The goal is to raise awareness of emergency warnings to save lives in the event of an attack. 2 Taiwanese firefighters took home gold and silver medals at the 2022 World Police and Fire Games in the Netherlands. Liao won gold in the bench press event, while Xu Wei won silver in the 400 meters hurdle competition. Over 10,000 competitors from 70 countries compete in 63 sports at this year's games. The event will draw to a close on Sunday. Fatty liver disease is becoming a major health concern in Taiwan. Some doctors estimate that around 40% of overweight people and 10% of those with normal BMI suffer from it. In serious cases, the condition manifests itself in abnormal appetite, fatigue, swollen abdomen, and pain around the liver. If left untreated, fatty liver can lead to cirrhosis and later liver cancer. Doctors say the best remedy is exercise and a healthy diet.
And we're back in the studio. And first off, I think we should welcome back our co-host, Natalie Tso.
Thanks
Welcome
so
back,
much.
Natalie.
Great to
Good
be
to
here
have you
again.
Have you back. The boys have left town.
They've
Or at least
expanded.
the boys have joined. The boys have expanded in number suddenly. So our question for this week is inspired by the video on grouper bento boxes, a kind of lunchbox type thing that being sold to market Taiwan's fish. My question for you is, what is your go-to bento box ingredient? Natalie, what about you?
Okay, so I'm going to talk about a famous bento box. It's called the Fulong bento box. It's named after a beach, and you can see them all over that beach. The beach, by the way, is a great place for water sports like sailing and windsurfing, and they have a sandcastle competition going on right now, so it's a great place to go. In the bento box, they have like lean pork and then pork belly and then sausage and cabbage.
All kinds of pork.
Lots of, great combination. And because it's so tasty, everyone sells the same thing over there. It's a classic. It's very good.
Sounds good. For me, I have one ingredient that I really like. It's Taiwanese sausage.
Ooh, can't go wrong with that.
Sausages are very savory. They're sweet. They're strong in flavor, and they combine with the rice very well. The rice kind of cuts into it, and it's just a really, really good combination. One of my favorites. Wouldn't trade it for anything.
My go-to actually is a bit less meaty. In fact, it's a veggie bento box with all the kind of different steamed Taiwanese vegetables. Taiwanese vegetables often kind of cooked.
So healthy.
Those
still.
are
I know. I'm a healthy guy.
You're
Look
a
at me,
health
Leslie.
nut, man.
I'm glowing. That's just, and that doesn't come. That comes at a price, Leslie. You got to cut all those pork products and stuff.
Couldn't do it.
Couldn't do
You're
it.
a bigger man
Couldn't
than
do
I
it.
am,
Well, there you
Stash.
go. That's the price you can't pay. Anyway, that's about it from us from Taiwan Insider. I'm Staś Butler.
I'm Natalie Tso.
And I'm Leslie Liao.
Make sure to follow us on social media. Catch us on Facebook and Instagram.
Also on YouTube, and leave a comment. We'd love to hear from you.
You can also tweet at us. Our handle is Taiwan Insider. Anyway, guys, until next week, see you next time.